The first official incident report regarding coffee on the colony world of Kellar Prime was filed at 06:14 local station time. The report was only 3 sentences long. The report might have disappeared into a bureaucratic archive and been forgotten forever if it hadn't been submitted by junior research observer Tikk. Tikk was young, very young. In fact, among the Varu species, he was still considered a cub, curious, energetic, and endlessly fascinated by alien cultures. Tikk had recently begun his internship aboard Harmony Station, a massive interspecies trade hub orbiting Kellar Prime. The station housed over 40 species. Most were predictable. Some were strange. Humans were both. That was why Tikk spent most of his free time studying them. Unfortunately for everyone involved, this led directly to the coffee crisis. The morning began normally. Tikk padded through the station's commercial district, carrying his researcher's tablet. His silver, gray fur had been carefully groomed, and his tail swayed excitedly behind him. Today's assignment was simple: observe human behavior, document unusual cultural practices, not findings. Easy. At least, that was the plan. Then he walked past a small cafe. Inside, dozens of humans sat around tables. Some worked, some talked, some stared blankly into space. Every one of them held a cup containing a dark liquid. Tikk paused. The liquid looked suspicious. Humans drank it constantly. They carried it everywhere. Some appeared unable to function without it. Others actively sought it out first thing in the morning. That alone was enough to trigger scientific curiosity. So he entered the cafe. The smell hit him immediately. His ears flattened. What in the stars is that? The scent was bitter, sharp, almost aggressive. A human woman behind the counter smiled. "Morning. Want a coffee?" Tikk recoiled. "No," the human laughed. "Fair enough." He spent 30 minutes quietly observing. The more he watched, the stranger things became. One human stumbled into the cafe looking barely conscious. After consuming a single cup of coffee, the individual became dramatically more alert. Another consumed 3 cups within an hour. A third openly complained of headaches after missing their morning coffee. Several joked that they couldn't survive without it. Tikk's eyes widened. Stimulatory effects, potential withdrawal symptoms. His researcher instincts activated immediately. This was serious. Very serious. Back in the laboratory district, Tikk obtained a sample. Officially, he was not authorized to conduct independent chemical analysis. Unofficially, nobody stopped enthusiastic cubs from learning. The station laboratory scanned the liquid. The results appeared on his screen. Tikk stared, then stared harder, then checked the data 3 times. Caffeine? The computer displayed the molecular structure. His tail puffed up. According to station databases, caffeine was classified as a potent biological stimulant. Certain species experienced severe reactions from even tiny amounts. Others considered it medically restricted. One species banned it entirely. Yet humans consumed it voluntarily daily, sometimes multiple times, sometimes in enormous quantities. Tikk pulled additional records. The situation became even worse. Humans extracted caffeine from plants, concentrated it, packaged it, sold it, advertised it, and willingly drank it. He opened another file. His jaw dropped. Lethal doses existed. Heart rate increased. Sleep cycles disrupted. Addictive tendencies documented. Tikk felt a wave of scientific horror. The humans weren't merely consuming a dangerous stimulant. They appeared to love it. The emergency report was submitted 15 minutes later. Unfortunately, Tikk's supervisor was on break. Unfortunately, the report automatically escalated. Unfortunately, station safety systems took biological hazard reports very seriously. Within an hour, Harmony Station's Administrative Council had received the alert. By lunchtime, rumors spread throughout the station. By evening, everyone was talking about coffee. The official investigation began the next day. Human representatives arrived, confused. Varu scientists arrived concerned. Medical personnel arrived prepared. The cafe owner arrived annoyed. Station administrator Kelra opened the hearing. "We are here to determine whether human coffee represents a biological threat. The human delegations exchanged puzzled glances. One raised a hand. Wait, coffee? Yes. The beverage? Yes. The beverage humans have been drinking for centuries? Correct. The human looked around. Is this a joke? Nobody laughed. The human slowly lowered his hand. Oh, you're serious. Tikk presented his findings. The young cub stood proudly before the council chamber. A giant holographic display projected molecular diagrams behind him. Caffeine stimulates neurological activity. Images appeared. It increases heart rate. More images. It affects sleep. Additional charts. It can create dependency. Several council members nodded gravely. Tikk felt increasingly confident. Then he displayed consumption statistics. The room erupted. Humans drink how much? Daily? Voluntarily? Multiple cups? One alien scientist fainted. A medical drone had to assist him. The human representatives watched the reaction with growing amusement. Administrator Kelra remained serious. Can you confirm these findings? The lead human representative nodded. Technically, yes. Gasps filled the room. Tikk's ears perked triumphantly. Dovadlatation. Scientific validation. At last, then the human added, you should see what we consider the weak stuff. The room became silent. Excuse me? We have stronger versions. Tikk nearly dropped his tablet. The investigation expanded. This proved to be a mistake because the more alien scientists learned about human beverages, the worse things became. Tea contained caffeine. Energy drinks contained caffeine. Some sodas contained caffeine. Certain chocolates contained caffeine. Even more alarming, humans often consumed coffee while operating machinery. Several council members demanded immediate restrictions. Others proposed warning labels. One suggested quarantine. Then, a human engineer named Sarah began asking questions. That was when everything fell apart. Quick question, Sarah said. How many of your species consume capsaicin? Blank stares greeted her. The compound that makes peppers spicy. Several aliens looked confused. Why would anyone eat something painful on purpose? Sarah smiled. Exactly. The humans began comparing notes. One species fermented toxic roots before eating them. Another consumed mildly radioactive minerals as dietary supplements. A third regularly drank a beverage containing enough natural acids to dissolve protective enamel. Suddenly, nobody seemed eager to criticize anyone else's food choices. The hearing became significantly more awkward, but Tikk refused to surrender. Science demanded answers. There had to be a reason. A dangerous substance remained dangerous regardless of cultural context, so he requested permission for controlled observation. To everyone's surprise, permission was granted. For 2 weeks, Tikk followed humans around the station. He observed them before coffee. He observed them after coffee. He observed them during long work shifts. What he discovered confused him. Coffee wasn't simply a stimulant, it was something else, something cultural. Humans gathered around coffee. They shared it, discussed it, bonded over it. Arguments were settled over coffee. Friendships formed over coffee. Business deals happened over coffee. Morning routines centered around coffee. Entire social rituals revolved around coffee. The beverage functioned almost like a social technology. One morning, Tikk observed 2 human maintenance workers. They sat together in silence, drinking coffee. Neither spoke for nearly 10 minutes. Finally, one nodded. The other nodded back. Then both returned to work. Tikk checked his notes. What communication just occurred? Neither human could explain. It's just coffee break. That answer somehow raised more questions than it solved. Weeks passed. Tikk's research expanded. His understanding deepened. Then came the accident. Ironically, it had nothing to do with coffee. A power fluctuation struck Harmony Station. Several systems failed. Cargo elevators stopped. Communications dropped. Life support backups activated. For 3 tense hours, engineers raced across the station repairing damaged infrastructure. Among them was Sarah, and among the volunteers helping coordinate emergency responses was Tikk. The young cub spent hours carrying messages between departments. By the end, he was exhausted. His legs ached. His eyes felt heavy. His thoughts became sluggish. The crisis eventually ended. System stabilized. The danger passed. Everyone relaxed, including Tikk, who promptly collapsed into a chair. Sarah appeared carrying 2 cups. She offered one. Tikk froze. The infamous beverage, the biological hazard, the controversial substance, coffee. You look tired. I am tired. This might help. Tikk hesitated. Every scientific warning flashed through his mind. Sarah waited patiently. Finally, curiosity won. It usually did. Tikk accepted the cup. The smell was still strange. The taste was worse. Bitter. Intensely bitter. His face twisted. Sarah laughed. First coffee? Obviously. Most humans react the same way. Tikk blinked. You voluntarily drink this? Yep, repeatedly. Every day. Why? Sarah considered, then shrugged. Because it works. Tikk took another cautious sip. Still terrible, yet oddly interesting. A few minutes later he noticed something. The exhaustion wasn't gone, but it seemed farther away. His thoughts felt sharper. His focus improved. Energy slowly returned. Tikk stared into the cup. Huh. Sarah grinned. Exactly. Word spread quickly. The Cub, researcher who had tried to classify coffee as a biological hazard, had finally tasted it himself. Humans found this hilarious. The story spread throughout Harmony Station. Soon everyone wanted updates. Tikk became something of a celebrity. A week later, someone gifted him a coffee mug. A month later, he owned 3. 6 months later, he had developed strong opinions about roasting methods. The transformation shocked everyone, including Tikk, especially Tikk. One morning his supervisor entered the office carrying a report. Tikk, yes, you requested budget approval for coffee research. Correct. The supervisor looked down. You also requested funding for something called an espresso machine. Essential equipment. Tikk, it's for science. The supervisor stared. Tikk stared back. Neither blinked. Finally, the supervisor sighed. You've become one of them. The final council hearing occurred nearly a year after the original report. Attendance was unusually high. Many arrived expecting entertainment. They were not disappointed. Administrator Kelra addressed the room. We are here to conclude the investigation into human coffee. Polite laughter followed. Then Tikk approached the podium. No longer a nervous Cub researcher, now a confident young scientist. He activated the presentation. The first slide appeared. It showed a coffee cup. Humans immediately began smiling. Tikk cleared his throat. After extensive research, observation, and testing, I have reached a conclusion. The room leaned forward. Coffee is indeed a biological stimulant. Several aliens nodded. It affects physiology. More nodding. It can alter behavior. Agreement spread. Tikk paused dramatically, then smiled. But so can thousands of other substances, consumed safely across the galaxy. The room grew quiet. Humans understand the risks. He changed slides. Photos appeared. Humans sharing coffee. Engineers during night shifts. Friends talking. Families gathering, explorers resting, workers laughing, communities connecting. Coffee is not merely a beverage, Tikk continued. It is part of human culture. The next slide appeared. A simple sentence. Sometimes understanding a species means understanding what they share with one another. The chamber remained silent. Then Tikk delivered his final conclusion. Therefore, I recommend coffee be officially reclassified. Administrator Kelra raised an eyebrow. Reclassified? As what? Tikk smiled. A cultural bonding agent with optional stimulant properties. For 3 seconds the room was silent. Then the humans exploded with laughter. Even Kelra struggled not to smile. The motion passed unanimously. Years later, the story remained famous. New interns still studied the incident during orientation. Human visitors still laughed when hearing about it. And Tikk eventually became one of the station's leading xenocultural researchers. His office contained awards, scientific honors, diplomas, research publications, and entirely too many coffee mugs. One afternoon, a new Cub intern entered his office. The young researcher placed a tablet on the desk. I've discovered something alarming about humans. Tikk looked up. Oh, the Cub nodded urgently. They willingly consume a substance called hot sauce. Tikk slowly set down his coffee. A familiar feeling returned. The same curiosity, the same excitement, the same realization that humans were once again doing something absolutely ridiculous. He smiled. Tell me everything. Outside the office window, Harmony Station bustled with life. Dozens of species worked together, traded together, learned together, and increasingly drank coffee together, because humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology, or their ships, or their ability to survive impossible situations. It was something far simpler. Humans had an extraordinary talent for taking strange things and turning them into shared experiences. A bitter drink made from roasted beans, friendship. A morning ritual became community. The biological stimulant became a reason to gather. And somewhere along the way, the rest of the galaxy discovered something unexpected. The dangerous part of coffee had never been the caffeine. The dangerous part was that, once humans invited you to sit down and share a cup, it became surprisingly difficult not to feel like family. And that, as many species eventually learned, was one of the most contagious things about humanity.